I am of the opinion that every person on the planet has the innate right to self-protection. Hello everyone, and welcome back to AmmoMart.com. Matt and I have been shooting these videos for nearly 2 years now, and in that course of time, we've kind of went out of our way to remain apolitical. But unfortunately, circumstances in the Middle East are such that I don't think that we can no longer afford to do that. And what I mean by that is this. A couple of days ago, it was announced that the Israeli government is actually going to start issuing bands of citizens weapons in order that they could form sort of a civilian defense force. I was actually shocked by the fact that Israelis didn't have access to weapons in the first place. My incorrect assumption was that the place was already more or less an armed camp, with everybody being forced into the military and having some basis for that training, and I was sadly mistaken. As it turns out, Israel does have some very strict gun laws. You can, as a private citizen, get a permit to have a gun, but you have to show need, cause, want, and go through a lengthy process to actually obtain the firearm. Now, in light of current events, that makes one stop and go, I wonder why that is. Governments, on their best day, are merely reactionary units that try to solve a problem, and when they do, they typically make it worse. I am of the opinion that every person on the planet has the innate right to self-protection. So why am I standing here holding the St. Victor Edge? Well, it kind of got me thinking that I've had a lot of people ask me, because they know I'm into guns, why any person would need this. It's not very good for hunting large game, and we've all heard the arguments. I'm not going to bore you with them now. But the answer is because the bad guys have them. It's just that simple. Had the Israeli government saw fit to have more access to citizen weapons, guess what? Things might have turned out a little different for a lot of their innocent people, children, women, and men. If you're going to rely on the government to solve your problems for you, it's a good bet you're going to end up dead in the street because they cannot protect you. Despite their best efforts, despite their best intentions, you are the master of your own fate. Some of you might be wondering what the Hamas attack on Israel has to do with the American citizen. Well, the way I look at it is terror comes in all forms, whether it's large gangs of criminals pulling smash and grabs,
a surge of violent smash and grab robberies,
cartel activity, drug activity.
They're everywhere. Montana is far from alone. This map of cartel activity is from 2019. Since then, the cartels have expanded to all 50 states, battling for control of the nation, coast to coast.
Not to mention the string of mass shootings that we seem to be plagued with year in and year out.
The Outlet Mall near Dallas.
We start hearing rock, rock, rock.
The Atlanta Medical Office.
All I seen was police cars and SWAT and everybody just pulling up, back to back, back to back.
Neighbors shot in Cleveland, Texas. A Sweet 16 birthday party in Alabama. A Louisville bank. And an elementary school in Nashville.
We all need to be responsible for protecting our communities. There was a saying back in the day that went roughly something like, an armed society is a polite society. I have a feeling that if Hamas would have had any idea that Israelis had the ability to protect themselves with this en masse, their tactics are going to be a little different than they employed on October the 7th. Paragliders and motorbikes, they're not sophisticated. They're just not. And had their citizens had a chance to defend themselves against any threat, might have turned out a little differently. You never know what's going to happen in this country. I always hope for good things, and I do believe in the democratic process. But the times they are a-changin'. Please get armed and get trained.